Welcome to Football Focus. Hope you're all having a great day. Before we kick off, if you love football, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Let's dive in. Marcin Tybura, I don't see anyone beating UFC champion Tom Aspinall right now. The heavyweight division of the Ultimate Fighting Championship has always carried a certain mystique that separates it from every other weight class in mixed martial arts. For decades, the biggest men in combat sports have represented the ultimate dream of fans who want to see what happens when size, strength, speed, and skill collide inside the octagon. Today, the division finds itself in a fascinating new era following the retirement of Jon Jones, a fighter long considered one of the greatest to ever step foot in the cage. With Jones stepping away, the title picture has been reshaped, and at the center of it all stands Tom Aspinall, the Englishman who has rapidly developed into the kind of champion many observers believe could dominate for years to come. Among those who have voiced admiration for Aspinall is veteran contender Marcin Tybura, a battle-tested heavyweight from Poland who knows the landscape of the division as well as anyone. Tybura has been clear in his assessment. Right now, he simply does not see anyone beating Tom Aspinall. That kind of endorsement carries weight because Tybura is not new to the world of elite heavyweights. Over the course of nearly a decade in the UFC, he has fought a mixture of rising prospects, seasoned veterans, and top-ranked contenders, carving out a reputation as one of the most durable and consistent big men on the roster. His perspective is grounded in first-hand experience, having shared the octagon with Aspinall himself in July of 2023 in London. That night, Tybura lasted just over a minute before being overwhelmed by the speed and precision of the Englishman. It was a harsh lesson, but one that left Tybura with an appreciation for the rare combination of attributes Aspinall brings to the table. In his view, Aspinall is the prototype of the modern heavyweight. Fast, athletic, technically sharp, and mentally strong with the right balance of patience and aggression. When Tybura says he does not currently see anyone dethroning him, it is not just hype, it is the perspective of someone who has felt the champion's firepower firsthand. The current landscape of the heavyweight division revolves around Aspinall's scheduled defense against former interim champion Ciryl Gane, set for October 25 at UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. This matchup is intriguing for many reasons. Gane has been one of the most technically polished strikers in the division, a fighter whose fluid movement and kickboxing skill set him apart from the stereotypical image of a lumbering heavyweight. Yet despite his brilliance on the feet, Gane has faltered on the biggest stages, suffering submission losses to both Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones. Those defeats raised serious questions about his grappling defense and his ability to withstand pressure when the stakes are highest. Against Aspinall, he faces a different kind of challenge, someone who can not only strike at a high level, but also wrestle, submit opponents, and adapt dynamically within a fight. For Tybura, this is precisely why he has such high confidence in Aspinall's reign. He sees the Englishman's versatility as the separating factor, the quality that allows him to dominate fighters who might otherwise thrive in one-dimensional matchups. Yet, the heavyweight division is never static. On the same UFC 321 card, another crucial bout will unfold when Alexander Volkov meets Jailton Almeida in what could serve as a title eliminator. Volkov, the towering Russian striker, has been a staple of the division for years. Known for his rangy kickboxing and durability, he has faced nearly every major name of the modern heavyweight era. His most notable setback came against Aspinall himself in March 2022 when the Englishman submitted him in less than 4 minutes. That result lingers in the memory of many fans and analysts, suggesting that a rematch would be a steep uphill battle for Volkov. Still, he remains a dangerous contender, and his recent performances have shown improvements in his ability to manage distance and stay composed under fire. By contrast, Almeida represents the new wave of Brazilian heavyweights. Nicknamed Malhadinha, he is a grappling specialist with explosive takedowns and relentless ground and pound. He has stormed through much of his opposition so far, and while critics argue that his striking is still raw, his sheer athleticism and submission threat make him one of the fastest rising challengers in the sport. Tybura has already highlighted Almeida as a name to watch, someone who could eventually mount a serious challenge to Aspinall. But for now, he too acknowledges that the Englishman holds the edge. While Aspinall prepares for his first title defense, Tybura remains focused on his own path. At UFC Paris on September 6th, he is set to face Croatian powerhouse Ante Delija, a fighter making his long-awaited UFC debut. The matchup carries a layer of history, as the two men met nearly a decade ago in 2015. That fight ended in gruesome fashion when Delija broke his leg after landing a heavy kick, forcing an abrupt stoppage and sending his career into limbo. Tybura would go on to sign with the UFC shortly after, while Delija endured years of rehabilitation before re-emerging in 2018. Since then, Delija has fought primarily under the Professional Fighters League banner, compiling a respectable record that includes winning the heavyweight championship in 2022. His resume boasts victories over notable names like Renan Ferreira, Denis Goltsov, and Matthias Scheffel, and his aggressive style has made him a fan favorite. Now, nearly a decade later, he returns to meet Tybura once again, this time on the biggest stage. For Tybura, the fight represents both a professional challenge and an opportunity to climb closer to title contention. Despite his years of service in the UFC, he has never quite broken into the championship picture, often finding himself just outside the top 5. His recent victories over Jonata Dinis and Mick Parkin have kept him relevant in the rankings and reminded observers of his resilience. In fact, since 2020, Tybura has quietly compiled a 10-3 record, with losses only to Aspinall, Volkov, and Sergey Spivak, each of whom resides among the division's elite. This consistency underscores his belief that he remains in the right spot to make one final push towards contention. The fight with Delija is not necessarily the marquee matchup he wanted, but he recognizes that opportunities are earned through both victory and style. As he has noted, simply winning is not enough in the UFC. Fighters who make a statement, who deliver memorable performances, are the ones most likely to be rewarded with big opportunities. The stylistic clash between Tybura and Delija promises intrigue. Tybura is a well-rounded heavyweight who has shown steady grappling, durability, and the ability to grind down opponents with pressure. Delija, meanwhile, is a finisher at heart, having earned the majority of his wins by stoppage. His aggressive striking and willingness to take risks make him dangerous, but they also expose him to counters and defensive vulnerabilities. Historically, he has been finished in 5 of his 6 career losses, raising questions about his ability to withstand prolonged punishment. Tybura has acknowledged this, but he remains cautious in his preparation, emphasizing the need to be ready for anything. He does not approach fights with a single-minded strategy, preferring to prepare for all scenarios and adjust as the bout unfolds. This mindset reflects his veteran experience, a recognition that in mixed martial arts, fights rarely go according to plan. The rematch storyline adds another layer of narrative weight. Though Tybura won their first encounter, he is quick to dismiss it as meaningless given the circumstances of Delija's injury. Nearly 10 years later, both men have evolved tremendously, and Tybura views this as an entirely new challenge. He has expressed admiration for Delija's career in PFL and his ability to rebuild after such a devastating setback. At the same time, he remains focused on his own goals, which center on climbing back into contention. In an ideal world, he would have been paired with a higher-ranked opponent, someone whose scalp could vault him into the top 5. But he does not dwell on what could have been. Instead, he frames the fight as another opportunity to prove himself and maintain momentum. Should he win, particularly in impressive fashion, the UFC may have no little choice but to reward him with a more prominent matchup next. All of this unfolds against the backdrop of a heavyweight division in flux. With Jon Jones gone, Francis Ngannou pursuing opportunities outside the UFC, and Sergey Miocic winding down his legendary career, the stage is set for a new generation to define the division. Aspinall sits at the forefront of that movement, but challengers are circling. Gane, Volkov, Almeida, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, and others all remain in the mix, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. For fans, this creates an exciting period where fresh matchups are possible and unpredictability reigns. For fighters like Tybura, it represents both opportunity and urgency. At 38 years old, he knows that time is not on his side, and every fight matters in shaping the final chapters of his career. That is why the bout in Paris is so critical. It is not merely another fight, but a potential gateway to bigger opportunities, provided he delivers in a way that captures attention. As Tybura prepares, his reflections on Aspinall's reign continue to resonate. He has seen champions rise and fall before, often due to factors outside the cage, such as loss of motivation, injuries, or distractions. He understands that no reign lasts forever. But in Aspinall's case, he senses something different, something more sustainable. The Englishman's humility,